who are all here seated, and members of the general public who are into the business of migration globally. And that informs why we have the likes of Ambassador Catherine Udida, who is one of our panel of discussants today. We also have Ms. Ukamaka Anyanachi, Mr. Umar Usman, Professor Gloria Aneto, Mr. Samto Ikiai, and of course, Dr. Mecca Chris Obezu, among others. One of the pioneers of the Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies, Professor Hakim Tijani, will be joining us virtually from America. Dr. Hawa Mahdi will also be joining us, as well as two other migrants. They will be joining us as in the course of this program. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ambrose Bernard Gowon, and I shall be coordinating this program along with Mary Osato Binesa. And together we'll be bringing to you bit by bit, minute by minute account of what is transpiring on this today. Without taking too much time, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege at this moment to invite the Vice Chancellor for his opening address and subsequently to declare this function open.
The registrar here present, the librarian, other principal officers of National Open University of Nigeria, deans and directors here present, staff of National Open University of Nigeria, the coordinator, CSO, NetMate, and his staff. Good morning, and you are welcome. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very good. Let me hear you respond because we are leaving. Now, the #1 season of this great university now and VC, Professor Olufemi Peters, would have loved personally to be here, but for exigencies of work, he's not able to make it. He has asked that I should come and represent him and read his speech. I'm glad to do so. I now go ahead to read his speech. But before I do that, I want to appreciate the efforts and commitment of those that were here on time. As much as possible, I prefer that we keep to time and we can do it. And so I appreciate the efforts of those that were here early. I'm sure we can do it and we should keep on doing it. The visit, salutations and greetings. I've already greeted you. All protocols observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me much pleasure to attend this one-day workshop on the current migration issues in Nigeria, hosted by the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, CEMG. I wish to acknowledge the presence of special guests from National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, NCFRMI, the Migration Technical Working Group, TWG, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, the Civil Society Network on Migration and Development, CSO-NET-MED, other agencies in the migration space, and the International Open University of Nigeria community. Background. Since the establishment of the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, CEMGS, the center has been deeply involved in articulating and projecting the contribution of academics and researchers to the international migration discourse through an interventionist, collaborative, and integrated approach. It is imperative to note that one of the core mandates of the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies of the National Open University of Nigeria now is to create awareness and attempt to provide a way forward about pressing and emerging migration challenges in Nigeria, Africa, and the globe. I believe that by the end of this workshop, the university community and stakeholders in the migration space will become more aware of the issues of migration as they affect the Nigerian people and nation, as well as their relatedness with the international play in the migration industry, a multidisciplinary and comparative scholarship approach, and so on and so forth. Sensitization workshop modality. The one-day sensitization workshop shall feature a panel session consisting of 6 discussants who will handle sub-themes of their choice, followed by an interactive session coordinated by a moderator. The interactive sessions shall discuss issues raised during the panel session by the discussant. The panelists shall consist of primary persons, collaborative partners in the migration space, for example, IOM, CSO NetMate, a cognate government agency, migrants, etc. This one-day sensitization workshop will take place with the generous support, or is taking place with the generous support of the university management and our collaborator, CSO NetMate, to whom we extend a lot of gratitude and appreciation. Now, it is my privilege on behalf of the VC and now to declare this workshop open, and I so declare it open.
Thank you very much, representative of the Vice Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria. Just as my co-pilot of this event introduced me earlier, my name is Mary, and we'll be anchoring this event together. We want to specially recognize the presence of the country director of the International Returns and Reintegration Assistance, Mr. Roland Uoha, who's joining us online. Thanks for joining us, sir. Thank you very much. So just before we continue, we would want to please ask that those of us sitting at the back should please come to the front. You know, this event is covered live, and so this can look good in the eyes of the camera also, you know what I mean? We kindly ask that you occupy the row in front of you if it's empty. Thank you very much. We can do that speedily. Okay, we have been asked to come to this part of the hall. And also, as Africans, we know how important it is to give honor to whom it is due. I still don't understand why we have 2 important personalities sitting here in the hall. So I want to please ask the Director, Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, Professor Gloria Nectar, to please come to this part of the hall, to come to the high table. Thank you very much, Prof. All of this would not be possible if you did not put your effort into it, so you deserve the recognition, ma'am. You're welcome. Of course, when we look at our invitation, we can see that another key organization joined in organizing this event. We will not be here today without the presence of CSO NetMate, that's the Civil Society Network on Migration and Development. At this point, I want to invite Dr. Emeka Chris to please come to the high table. Thank you very much, sir. If you look at your agenda, what we have now is the welcome remarks by the Director, Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies. She has invited us here. Let's see if she'll serve us cola so we can feel really welcome. Professor Gloria, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Osato, for that introduction. I'm delighted to have everyone. So how do I start? I want to say, let me follow the normal protocol. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, all principal staff here present, deans, directors, heads of departments, teaching and non-teaching staff, our collaborating agency, CSO Network, all invited guests, the press, media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely delighted to welcome you all to the maiden sensitization workshop of excellence in migration and global studies, CEMGS. Migration is undoubtedly like climate change, which is one of the serious problems confronting the global community, inviting solutions and insights. No nation or region of the world is exempt from issues related to migration and associated black. The magnitude and ramifications vary from region to region. For Africa and many other developing countries, encompassed with poor governance, huge populations in these countries are always seeking economic oasis and quest for security. Additionally, because of poor governance and attendant weakening of education systems in these countries, a sizable proportion of these countries seek education of better quality, despite the huge personal, economic, and collective sacrifices. Migration is more pressing in the developing countries, largely driven by economic and security difficulties that have come to characterize these regions. The picture in South America, populations constantly surging to the North America, United States, and Canada is largely similar to that in Africa, in constant upward exodus to Europe. In contrast, the wealthier destination countries have found themselves constantly seeking solutions to curtail the magnitude and frequency of migration to their countries. You will agree with me that there is compelling need for a structured conversation for a better understanding of the dynamics of migration, the ramifications, and the immediate as well as remote implications. The better understanding will lead to informed policy formulation cutting across several strata. It is also worthy of remarking that migration also has substantial advantages or benefits, though we only tend to focus on the demerits. The early missionaries' incursion into Africa and the trade and education benefits are unquantifiable. Migration was what opened much of the developing world, enabling the well-desired interconnections, creating today's trading networks, in part leading to the World Trade Organization and many similar world bodies. My task is simple. I don't want to bore you with too much talk yet because we shall go into the discussion session. To welcome you to this largely academic rubbing of minds and cross-pollination of ideas at the frontiers of migration. We shall tease out the many unanswered questions, uncertainties in this one-day sensitization seminar. It is hoped that we shall come up with creative and functional health education solutions regarding the dynamics of migration and its undeniable intersection with current global realities. I thank the management of the National Open University of Nigeria, especially the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Peters, for his visionary perception in approving and sponsoring the workshop. I also wish to thank the team of the staff of the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies for their usual industry enthusiasm and for working tirelessly to put today's event together. On behalf of the staff of Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies and the university community, I welcome you all. I hope you will take some time to look around at the end of today's activities to admire the beautiful scenery of our great university, the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Gloria Aneto, the Director, Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies of the National Open University of Nigeria. At least she has rolled out the carpet for us to give us a feel of what the one-day sensitization workshop is all about, at least from the boundaries of the academic field. For us to have a feel of what the real issues are on the field, I'd like to invite someone very special, one who is coordinating CSO NIDMIT, one who is into the trenches of dealing with day-to-day migration issues as it affects the people around. Let me invite for this one tax, Dr. Emeka Chris Obiezu, to take on this.
The DVC, representing the VC, the Director of the Center of Excellence of Migration and Global Studies, Nigeria Open University, the National Open University of Nigeria, all other protocols duly observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege for us, the members of Civil Society Network on Migration and Development Nigeria, a network of over 260 organization CSOs in Nigeria and outside Nigeria who are concerned about managing the issues of migration on the grassroots. Our focus is to ensure that migration is beneficial to everyone. By this, we mean that the rights of migrants are protected, the sovereignty of nations are protected, and development of individual and countries are also enhanced. The Civil Society Network on Migration and Development provides a space of interactive sharing within all the civil society members, encourage interface of ideas, capacity building, and then participation in various levels of migration governance within Nigeria and beyond. What we do mostly is to ensure that the non-government actors who participate in migration governance are critically involved in forming migration policies and driving their implementations at the grassroots. The reason for this is because we know that the policies made on the high levels have their impacts on the grassroots, and the grassroots brings experience that informs policy. And so we provide that bridge. It is a great honor for us to partner with the Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies to do this event, which is one anchor of our own mandate of awareness creating. The CSO NetMed have a long history of relating with academic institutions. In 2018, the CSO NetMed collaborated with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons and the International Organization for Migration in establishing the Center for Migration Studies at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, which today runs and collaborates with other institutions doing that. The reason why we take personal interest in collaborating with academic institutions, because we know that policies that are not driven with evidence-based data may have a lacuna around it. In other words, might lack all the necessary ingredients of authenticity and also measurable indicators to see whether they work. And because we cannot get any other verifiable data, other place other than the academic institutions, we pay greater attention to the collaboration. The Center for Excellence had actually come forward persistently to see that we do this. And on this note, we salute the doggedness of the director, Professor Gloria, who has walked through the corridors of all the migration spaces within Abuja and beyond to ensure that the face of the center is marked in those places and also make valuable inputs in policy discussions. And that is why we did not hesitate to partner with the center to do this event. One of the key issues that migration does for us in this country, Nigeria, is that it helps us to build our national development in various ways. Internal migration is the key driver of urban regional development. When our people move from rural areas to the urban areas, they go to the urban areas with diversity of culture and social norms. And they also increase the economics of that place. And they will return home with the remittances, the local earnings they have to build their rural areas. And we have seen the return back from urban to rural, developing rural areas, making them also habitable and opportunity grown for those who don't want to leave. For those who migrate beyond Nigeria, the remittances they bring back to us in terms of money and social investments have become key factor of migration of Nigerian Development Fund. Just last 2-3 weeks, the World Bank released the 2023 remittances figure, and Nigeria reckons as the second in Africa with the highest receiving remittance of $20.5 billion for 2023. These are money that our brothers and sisters who work outside remit back to this place, even though these monies are sent to private homes for daily sustenance of family issues. But we know how much it goes in alleviating poverty, strengthening family bonds, and contributing to the goal of the government in ensuring better development in the country. However, we also know that migration brings us some pains of those who traverse the land at sea to make their own lives, but do not find opportunity of doing it in a very regular way and end up in the hands of those who exploit the route of that migration. Many of our brothers and sisters have perished in the Mediterranean Sea and the desert. Unfortunately, some of them we will never see their graves because they are not known. Their graves are not known, whether they are alive or dead. Some families are still living in that reality. And this is why we think it's very important to invest everything we can to create a necessary awareness, to allow those who are potential migrants to have the valuable information they need to travel and how to live well where they are. And when they have finished and want to come back, to find opportunity of coming back to be reintegrated. On this note, as we wait for discussants to come forward when their time comes to lead us in this insightful information, I wish you on behalf of CSO NetMed again, thank the Center of Excellence for Migration and Global Studies at the National Open University of Nigeria, the management of the university, and all those who have made it possible for us to collaborate for the opportunity, and we look forward for more opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emeka Chris Ubezu, for giving us that insightful lines there. Over 20 billion, Jackpot may after all not be a bad thing.
No, it's not really a bad thing. Like I'm sure at some point in the technical session after now, we'll get to understand why we're even here today and to understand how best to manage this migration to ensure that we harness the benefits that it brings. Don't you think so, Mr. Andrew?
Yeah, and it's just a matter of time. We want to take this opportunity to ask that we go downstairs for a group photograph, after which we will reconverge here for a tea break. Then the plenary will continue. Thank you very much for being part of this opening session. Participants, first of all, let me apologize for our inability to commence with the session as planned. It was due to some technical glitch beyond our control. However, that has been sorted out, and we are back on in stream. Let me again apologize to our virtual participants, to Professor Tijani Hashim from Morgan State University, USA, Dr. Hawa Ahmadi from University of Gothenburg in Sweden, and other participants who are joining us virtually. Want to sincerely apologize for keeping you waiting all this while. It was due to some, like I said earlier, some technical glitch that was beyond our control. But however, that has been sorted out, and we'll continue from where we start. Again, let me just refresh our memories. We are gathered today for a one-day sensitization workshop, which is organized by the Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies in conjunction with CSO NetMed here at the National Open University of Nigeria headquarters, Jabi, Abuja. So without wasting too much time, distinguished participants, let me just drive straight ahead by inviting our discussants for them to start getting their academic blades sharpened so as to operate within that framework of why we are here. On the list of the panel discussion this afternoon, I want to invite Ambassador Catherine Udida to please join us at the high table. Is Ambassador Catherine Udida with us here? Well, thank you very much, ma. Please join us at the high table. While she's taking her seat, I would like to invite Ms. Ukamaka Onyanechi to also join us at the high table. I hope I didn't murder that name. Okay, please join us at the high table, ma. Thank you. Let me also invite in that length, Mr. Umar Usman. Mr. Umar Usman to please join us at the high table. Okay. I want to invite also Mr. Somto Ikiai to join us at the high table. Mr. Somto Ikiai, small but mighty. Among our virtual discussants, Professor Hakim Tijani. Professor Hakim Tijani used to be one of us here. He is also, let me say, a migrant or an immigrant. He is in the Morgan State University, USA, a pioneer, director of this Center of Excellence for Migration and Global Studies. So good to have you here again. Let me also bring to our notice that Dr. Hawa Mahdi from the University of Gothenburg in Sweden is also with us virtually. Then there will be a presentation centering around some of the migrants that will be done later on in the course of this discussion. But distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I want to invite the moderator of the session, who is Dr. Emeka Chris Ubiezu. He will make sure that the relevant questions and the mode of operation or mode of engagement is done according to the rules of engagement. So, Dr. Chris, please welcome. Just a minute as you keep your seat. I want to also invite one of the discussants, who is the director of the Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies, Professor Gloria Eneto. Please join us at the high table too. So the general officer commanding this session, Dr. Chris, will set the rules of engagement and will let us know how he intends to go about this with questions, observations. Those will be harvested at the end of it. But then, for now, Dr. Chris, sir, you are in charge.
Once again, I greet this honorable gathering who have gathered to draw more awareness on the issues of migration and Nigeria. What we'll be looking at today as our discussants would lead us. They are discussion leaders. They are not presenting anything. It is a conversation that we're having. So, but they will lead us in that conversation. Every Nigerian today, doesn't matter your level of education, doesn't matter your level of exposure, is conversant with a trend that describes the reality of Nigeria right now. And that reality or that trend is known as the JAPA. Have you heard of JAPA? Do we know of JAPA? Before the 2023 election, we were discussing with some of our partners on the need to strengthen migration awareness and programs in Nigeria. And some of them were hesitant considering the amount of Nigerians who no longer move in their drugs as it concerns running from unhealthy, healthy situation. We told them that as 2023 election was coming, the cloud was gloomy. Nigerians didn't know what to expect, that either way this goes, we anticipate a larger movement of people. And we thought it was not going to be, but it became what it was. And those of us who were advocates of better migration management were proven right. Today, if you meet three Nigerians standing together talking, before the end of their conversation, somebody will say, I am tired. I just want to leave. I don't even know where to go, but all I want is to leave. And so they will ask you, do you know how to get visa? And you ask the person, visa to where? Say visa to anywhere, as long as I am leaving Nigeria. What are you going to do? Anywhere would be better than here, as long as I have something to do. With all your level of education, would you mind if you end up being a taxi driver? And he would say, if I was a better taxi driver here with a better pay and assurance of security, I would still want to, I would not have wanted to move. But to drive the taxi here, you won't see. Even if you drive, you don't even have an assurance of their security. Either you become one chance yourself, or you become a victim of one chance yourself. So in any way, it doesn't favor somebody. The trending demographic, which has more of the impact of this tendency, are the youth. If you go to, the education institutions, we've carried out sensitization program, and we alerted them of the reality of the dangers awaiting those who take irregular migration. And in one university, as we finished saying our story, somebody took the microphone and said, "Why are you people the agents of doom? All you do when you come to sensitization is to tell us the bad side of it." If there were 50 people that tried to cross the Mediterranean and 45 died, I think 5 crossed. Why not tell a story of that 5 that crossed? Because it will also be part of the story. And with the religiosity that describes who we are, they will end that conversation to say, "It is not my portion. It is not my portion not to cross." So the person who died in the Mediterranean or dried up in the desert, it was their portion, but not our portion. This morning or this afternoon, these people who are professionals and academics who deal with the issue of migration on a daily basis have come here to help us begin this conversation. I would want to start with 2 people who are very critical. One will be the youth who is experiencing this tendency and desire to run away because of the reality. Somebody actually there told me when we had the upsurge, the electricity issue, he just said to me, "Hey, is it not what we're talking about? Is it not what we're talking about? How can the youth stay? Even common light we don't have. And if the person is doing something important, is it how he will continue?" And that conversation already began from there. So we would get the youth to tell us, why would you want to leave Nigeria right now? And if you want to leave, what necessary steps do you want to take? That would be what the youth will be looking at. But first and foremost, I will want to go to the person to whose desk all troubles and good news of migration for the government of Nigeria, who handles migration. She has to take the ball rolling. So I will want to call the Director of Migration Affairs of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, Ambassador Catherine Udida, to begin this conversation by telling us the story of Nigeria right now when it concerns migration. What do we identify as major trends of Nigerian migration as you experience this from your office? And the terms of the game is, because it's a conversation, you would have 4 minutes in this first intervention. Tell us that story. We may come back to ask you clarifying questions where you can use another 2 minutes. But if I don't, then you know that I will come back to you at a later stage. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ambassador Catherine Udida, the Director of Migrant Affairs for the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. The Commission is the coordinating agency for all migration-related issues in Nigeria. And so we interface with all migration stakeholders in the country. I would like to start by saying migration is a human right. Everybody has a right to migrate. However, what we strive to do is to ensure that those who are migration do so regularly. Now, we have this trend now where youth are going out in droves. Even the very skilled professionals in this country are going out, the Japa syndrome. And so what we are doing, try as much as possible, to carry out our mandate. Our mandate, as long as the governance structure, migration governance structure is concerned, is to coordinate all migration-related issues. If you see from the governance structure, we have the 4 levels of governance, migration governance in Nigeria. We have the first level, which is the National Consultative Forum. Of course, we have the Technical Working Group that comprises everybody involved in the migration discourse in the country. Then we have the thematic groups. The thematic groups are 5 thematic groups in Nigeria. We have the labor migration thematic group. We have the return, readmission, and reintegration. Labor is led by Ministry of Labor and Employment. The return, readmission, and reintegration is led by my agency, which is the National Commission for Refugees. We have the data management by NBS and National Population Commission. We have the border management, which is led by the Nigeria Immigration Service. And of course, we have the NITCOM, which deals with diaspora. These 5 thematic groups take care of all issues related to migration. And so we try to coordinate all of those, to be able to understand the trends and see how those who are involved will ensure that those who are going are given the right protection. And so the human rights of migrants is taken care of, of course, and also of their families are paramount. And so right now we are seeing a lot of movements, but I'd like to underscore the fact that most people who leave Nigeria do not really go to the West. We have migration, we have more migration within West Africa, and we have more migration within Africa, and just a few across the Atlantic or the Mediterranean Sea. And so most of the migration we have shows that there's more within West Africa and than outside, even though we have a lot of noise about migrants leaving, maybe because they are going irregularly, some of them, and dying, unfortunately, in the desert or in the Mediterranean Sea. So what we are trying to see is understand, these trends, and also look at the migration even within the country. When we talk migration, the general impression that it has to be across the border. So we have also migration from the north, south, east, west within Nigeria. I would like to know what is happening to those people who migrate. Are they also subject to trafficking or smuggling of migrants across the border? So generally, that's what we have now in place. And we are working with international partners. Nigeria is a member of the steering committee for the Rabat process. The Rabat process is the EU-Africa dialogue on migration of 57 countries. We are members of the steering committee. And what we're trying to do over time now is to see how we can pull our skills in this country and see what the skill gaps is or are in Europe, and find how we can match the skills from Nigeria or other parts of Africa with the skills in Europe. And so our emphasis now is on regular migration and also secular migration. I'll stop here now and wait for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. I'm happy that you have also opened up the other side of this conversation. In other words, what we are doing to respond to the trend as it were. And it is heartwarming that Nigerian government is actually constructively working on this. What I hear from what you say is that we are interested in making migration regular. In other words, to soften the challenges that are there. But you also mentioned something in terms of trends that I would build more on understanding this. That is the fact that migration we talk about within Nigerian dynamics is not just outside Nigeria. When we talk of Japa, the Japa is not whether you cross from Sokoto to Abuja. That one is you jumping from the river and find yourself at the river bank. You are still where you are. But the one we know is the one that takes out of this country. Yes, it adds to a great majority of the challenges and benefits we talk about migration. Thank you for saying that. And another thing I hope you picked it is that the migration of Nigerians outside Nigeria does not necessarily go to Europe. And this is what many of us think, that when people are leaving Nigeria, they're going to Europe. But she has told us that it happens within Africa and more so within West Africa. So it is important to underscore that because it helps to understand the entire dynamics Just yesterday, I was also researching with the statistical group, and we found out that out of the 20 billion US dollar remittances that Nigerians recorded in 2023, that a huge sum of that percent come from Nigeria within West Africa. It is so interesting to know that these remittances are from within. So I go to you now, son, to the civil society person, civil society youth. We paint the picture that it is only the young people that want to move. So I'll ask you two questions. One, is it true that it's only the young people that Nigeria is hot for? Or within your work as civil society, have you also seen that people older than youth are also moving? And if that is the case, whether you move or not, what do you think is happening around your group of persons, young people, with regards to migration? How much aware are they of both the danger of irregular migration, the processes of getting right migration? Thank you. Remember, it's
Right. Thank you very much. Yes, in regards to the first question, outside the youth group, I will more like concur that those older than the youth also want to migrate because according to them, they still complain of the hardship that is being experienced in Nigeria. And many of them, even as old as 60, some even 70, still want to migrate. So that's the reality. Then in regards to the group, let me say the peer group youth, yes, we are all aware of the issues regarding migration. We are aware of the irregular paths, and we know that taking the irregular paths, there are complications that we might face. But most times, youths now, they like to explore, so they don't mind taking the risk just to make that advance, just to change the level, get a better economy. Like what the goal is I want to go out there, I want to make something for myself. Sometimes most pressure to come from our family, sometimes maybe our relationship, but we just want to go out there and make something for ourselves. And regarding the dangers, I would say, yeah, majority of us are aware somehow because of the goal. Some people feel like, okay, probably in my own case, it might not really, just as expressed earlier, it might not really be the same. Even if I've heard the story that so and so person had moved or, and we are not hearing any longer from the person, or they hear that, this person died in so and so place and they are bringing his body back. But most of us will still want to take the step because of the difficulties in getting the regular visa, which sometimes is very expensive. And now with the current issues, with reality that we're facing with the dollar to naira exchange rates, we notice now to get a visa now it's going as high as almost 1 million and above just to leave the country. So just imagine that as a youth, where will you get 1 million and above for to leave? So sometimes the push to go out there. But majority of us are taking to ourselves that, okay, the educated part of the youth that, okay, I can actually go out of the countries even without having 1 million naira. All I just need to do is up my skills. I'm a graduate. I have this skill. Okay, I'm good in IT or I'm in the medical field. All I just need to do is show myself out there. That's why majority of them now take to social media to bring themselves out. So at least those people out there will notice them and also give them a chance probably to earn in foreign currency or leave the country. So that's the
Okay, you mentioned something like a pressure, and in that pressure, you singled out family. Sometimes the pressure will come from the family. I think I can identify with that because I know somebody whose parents mounted this unbearable pressure and have taken him to so many prayer houses to know why his own is always different because his mates have left this country and he's still roaming here. And every Christmas, these people will come and carry him around and give him drink And so they thought they are either using his brain or using his destiny. So they are taking him to many prayer houses to deliver him from that. And after that deliverance, the man will still not go because he said, I want to try whether it will work here. But there are a number of pressures also that I see some persons, especially after Christmas, from the side of the country where I come from. After Christmas season, we always see more youth migration. And this is due to pressure from those or influence of those who return or those who are there already. So I want to find out from you, how much pressure or influence do you think that the youth get from their peers who are outside to want to migrate? This
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yes, the pressure is actually there. It's quite significant. Because I'm using myself now as a practical example to extend to the youth. They just imagine me now and my friend of 2 years back comes back home and like he has a car and he's planning to build a house and I'm here in Nigeria. I'm far better than him and I don't have anything to show. Certainly I'll be asking him, bro, how far now? What's the way out? I would like to, like, what are you doing so that I will join you to leave? So it's there. It's very, very significant. We all want to have success. We all want to make it. And we don't, most times, like I said earlier, we don't mind the path that it will take to venture in, as long as we can guarantee our own safety. Because it's only you who could tell how far you can go. So as long as most times we can guarantee our own safety, we don't mind taking those paths. So that's where the enlightenment and the sensitization should come in to help us understand that, okay, this is the limitation. And actually, no matter what you do, there are likely the chances of you making it 90 to 10. So that's just it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to remind our discussants from the online platform, Professor Hakim and Dr. Howard, that I would soon come to you to get your input from this in this conversation. But let me go to someone whose work is by day, by night, dealing with both data, realities, facts, and all the things concerning migration. This is International Organization for Migration, and she stays at program office, so she knows what we're talking about. So I'm going to Okamaka to let us know from the work of IOM, especially in this recent time, within these last 5 years, what would be the scenario of your understanding of Nigerian migration issue in terms of what IOM is doing in managing Nigeria and migration? What are the issues, maybe challenges, as well as what you guys are doing?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, looking at what is going on within the migration space in Nigeria and also trying to connect it to what IOM is doing, I would like to start by maybe trying to present some background information or scenario on what we are seeing. In the past 5 years, I must start by saying that when it comes to migration in Nigeria, the situation is quite dynamic because Nigeria is the country of origin for migrants, the country of transit for people that are moving, and it's also a destination country. This means that when you discuss issues of migration from whatever angle you tend to look at it, you see that Nigeria is always a reference point. For us in IOM, I will start by saying that primarily we do not view migration. Migration is good. What we push for is safe and orderly migration, because within that space, all holders, that's the migrants, countries of origin, countries of destination, host communities are all able to harness the benefits that comes with migration. Speaking specifically of Nigeria within the past 5 years, we have continued to see returns of stranded Nigerian migrants in various places, but most especially Libya and other North African countries. We have also continued to see an increasing number of Nigerians that are migrating regularly. looking at our data from our medical health assessment centers, these are people that are moving regularly. We see an increasing number of people moving for study reasons, as well as family reunification and people that are going there for work. At the same time, we know that there has been like an overall drop in the numbers of migrants that we see trying to cross the Mediterranean. But these are for various reasons, really, such as the situation in Libya, not just Libya, also in Tunisia, where you have very high levels of human rights abuses and risks associated with irregular migration. And of course, we had COVID that also happened within the past 5 years. We also saw had a huge impact on migration. As the moderator had already highlighted, with the elections in Nigeria last year, it was anticipated and also being played out that there will be yet another surge, but also as the person speaking on behalf of the youth also had highlighted, we also see an increase in the cost of migration. The challenge we anticipate within this space is the fact that we might have an increase in irregular migration because with more people not being able to afford to migrate regularly, pay visa fees, pay school fees, because all these things are dominated in foreign currency, they will be rather forced to try the irregular means. On our side as IOM, basically our work is to work with our member states to see how to provide solutions that will see that migration is done safely and orderly, as I mentioned before. And within this space, we do various things. We provide support with regards to policy and legislation. We provide support to various operatives, basically to enhance the operational capacities in this space. And also we provide, we work closely with civil society organizations, non-state actors that are working in this space, because we know that just by the dynamic nature of migration, governments and international implementing partners do not have the capacity to reach every nook and cranny of the country. Specifically, I would like to also mention that we do a lot of work within the space of protection. Just by being a migrant, the person on the move, you're already in a state where you do not have all the comforts that would ordinarily be available to you if you're in your, I would say, natural place of abode. This in by itself increases your likelihood of falling into any of the vulnerabilities, either being exposed to torture or being exploited for labor, and so on and so forth. We also want to highlight that, as I mentioned earlier on, Nigeria hosts migrants, and one of the things that we're also looking at is how to ensure that migrants that are within Nigerian space have the necessary protections that we have under international legal framework available to them. I think I'll pause at this stage. I think the moderator is signaling me to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please, kindly still hold that microphone. You excited my listening, and then I want to ask you a question. But first, I want to agree with you because you also collaborated the fact that the director emphasized from the beginning that migration is a human right of every individual, and migration is good. They are not working to stop people from migrating. I'm also happy to hear that you say that the story is not that Nigerians migrate irregularly in a higher number, that more people migrate regularly. I agree with that. Your office sometime last year told us that over 250,000 people for the space of 2022-2023 used your medical services, 250,000, which means those are people who migrated regularly using the right routes. So it is good we hear that. Because what people tell us is that all of us are going through the desert. But there's something you say that more people will return through Libya. So my question would be, why Libya? Did Nigerians decide to go to Libya? Why is it that the return is coming more from Libya? Could Libya be their destination or something happened that they are trapped there? If you just want to use another 30 seconds to respond to Libya and Nigeria.
So the matter is that Libya is actually a transit country. Majority of these people are on their way to Europe. Why Libya? It's because of the proximity between Libya and the Mediterranean and Europe. So the only thing separating them or migrants from Africa and Europe is the Mediterranean, and Libya borders it. So it's just geography by then.
Okay. So we
So of course, the failure of government in Libya, that has created the state where you have different armed groups running different parts of the country, just creating that place of chaos, enabling crime. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for highlighting that. And again, I think it's important we put it also in our own checklist of what is happening. Libya is, the truth is that originally before the Libya crisis in 2011, Nigerians were migrating to Libya because during Gaddafi time, there were opportunities of work. And Nigerians lived in Libya. Unfortunately, during the Libya crisis, many of them were conscripted into the Libya military force then to Wapai. But after the crisis, it became, like she said, a failed state. So more abuses were happening there. Migrants were no longer protected. Many of them got stranded. But for those who are moving from Nigeria through Agadez to Libya, one of the reasons why Libya became the last stop is not because the people were afraid of the Mediterranean Sea. They knew they were crossing. But what happened also is that European Union developed their own project of stopping these people from crossing. So there are three major high points within Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria, where European Union, in their protection of their borders, mounted security, making it difficult for those who are coming from Africa to jump into the sea. So, plus failed states, migrants who were already in Libya trapped, and those who traveled all the way from here and got to Libya, they can't cross again. They added to the trouble. So IOM facilitates the return of those who want to come back. I think that is important. And for those who also think that Nigeria is completely gone, we have heard it from her also that Nigeria is a destination country. Do you believe that somebody with his open eye writing for visa to Nigeria to come to Nigeria and don't even understand how it will happen? You know, there are people who want to come and work in Nigeria, but it's true. Nigeria is a country of origin, country of transit. People move through here to other places, and people desire, as you pray every morning, may God hear my prayer so that I will get my visa. Their prayer is that they will come to Nigeria. Nigeria remains a giant of Africa. We hold large opportunities for people, especially those within our West African borders. So they want to come here. So we have heard that. And just as we pray that our people are treated well, those who are here also hope that we treat them well. That is one of the things that IOM is doing. Before I go to those online who will give us the first, let me come to the person who brought us here. You know, academia has a great role in migration in terms of teaching, research, advocacy, and even projects. We want to find from the director of the center, one, why did you start this center? Two, what is this center doing in terms of managing migration in this country, particularly targeting the students you are training? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. This Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, was actually established to look into migration issues, particularly migration and global issues, particularly concerning how to make migration better and to find out why this migration and what are the challenges, and to advise in terms of policies concerning migration in Nigeria. So it's all migration issues in Nigeria that is the focus of this center. This center is relatively young, has not started academic degrees in migration, but that is the next level we are in. And hopefully, I want to believe in the next 12 months latest, postgraduate studies in migration will commence because we are already on it. However, for now, we are into research. Research in the sense that we motivate people to do research and we publish this research. In our journal, we have a journal called International Journal for Migration and Global Studies, a journal which has been on for almost 4 years, which is at owned at the center itself. As soon as we started getting articles for people, people doing research in different areas of migration to publish so that it can be circulated, because we know that research is the hallmark of everything concerning improvement and educating people through what others have found out. And of course, for progress to happen, we cannot but do research, which we are already doing even without having a formal degree awarding programs yet. Definitely, when this program, degree awarding, commences, it's going to be an eye-opener, because in the whole of the North Central and other parts of the country, apart from the East that has started some stuff in that, there's no formal institution offering this program. And our institution is special in the sense that we operate the ODL mode, open and distance learning mode, which is far, far reaching than any closed system where they are in a position in one place and delivering. We can deliver lectures that can go far into the whole global space by virtue of our own mode of delivery.
Okay, thank you. You have said something again that will make me want to ask one more question to you. You have produced research. So will you want to let us know one thing that people have identified in most of this research you have done that you think represent or relate to the Nigerian migration reality? Is there anything standing out?
Well, it is what we all know, that governance is a major thing standing out in this migration issues that we have been identifying. Of course, like the youth next to me has said, people want to live for better condition, for greener pasture. So governance is very, very important. So for us to look inward and improve on those things that are making people leave the country. Like he has said, youth majorly, but even my age group are already also in the race, and people older than me. So it means it's not only for youth. And what is pushing us out? What is our government looking at? So this governance is a major feature of migration in this country. And like you said, some people are coming into Nigeria. It's unbelievable. I also have one or two good news to share. Some people who wanted to come here last December and were itching for Nigerian visa, but were refused from the US because they want to come and know Abuja. In fact, one particularly wanted to come to the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies. Said he wanted to have one-on-one discussion with me and assess possibility of us working together. But at the end of the day, she was not given the visa because she's not a Nigerian but resides in the United States. And I was pained because I was looking all out to receive her. In fact, the Vice Chancellor was ready to receive her.
Wait. You mean Nigeria refused the visa?
Yes.
Can you imagine? You mean Nigeria refused somebody's visa?
Yes. So.
It don't depend the government. Really? That is exciting to know. Anyway, the director, don't worry, I will come back to you. We have, I don't know if the Dr. Professor Hakim is online.
Sorry, there's a little hitch here because they were told to come online a bit late. Okay. Dr. Hakim is in the United States and Dr. Awa is in Sweden. So we thought we would get longer than this. So we wanted them to wake up normally.
Okay.
So if we give them
the guy from Sweden should be up by now.
Can be discussing why we wait for them to come online.
Okay, they come online because what I was going to actually get to hear from them.
Yeah,
those who are discouraging.
From South Africa online, Professor Tony Adetiba
I don't know whether he has something to tell us about South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Professor Tony Adetiba is online. He's from South Africa.
Okay.
If he can unmute, talk to us.
So, Professor Tony Adetiba,
Yes.
if you can unmute yourself, what I would want to hear is that sometimes one of the things they tell us on these advocacy programs is that the grass is not always green at that side. And somebody told me when I said that, and you said here, even if it's dry, make a chopper. So I want to hear from Tony. Is it true that the grass is not greener there than it is here in order for us not to come? Or is there anything we need to do so that when we come there, it will be better for us? Please, if you are available, you can take the microphone, I'll mute yourself and speak to us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, colleagues. This is Tony Adesiba from South Africa. I will answer your question this way. You know, to the best of my little understanding, I hope, can you hear me, please?
Very
Can you
well.
hear me clearly?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
as I was saying, you know, based on your question, I wouldn't say the grass is not green here, and neither will I say it is dry. You know, why I'm saying that is because, you know, to a large extent, as far as South Africa is concerned, you know, not that they don't want people to come to this side. They actually want people to come to South Africa. But the major thing is that they want everything done properly. You know, I remember I remember, you know, some years ago, 2 years ago to be precise, you know, two Nigerians, they were my former students in Nigeria. They said, okay, they want to come to South Africa, then how, you know, can they get here? They were actually asking some questions from me. And I told them that, okay, if coming here is not a problem. But the question is, once you get here, what are you going to do? That is where the issue of whether the grass is green or dry here. You know, to a certain extent, if someone is coming to South Africa, if you are not a specialist in your area, I will say that by the time you get here, the grass will be as dry as anything. In essence, you must know who you are for you to be able to get something done once you get here. You know, and more so, most Nigerians that are here, you know, we have so many medical doctors, Nigerian medical doctors that are doing creditably well here in South Africa. And there are some of us that are in academics that are doing creditably well in South Africa here. In fact, let me put it this way. You know, when you look at most South African universities, just get there, you see so many Nigerians that are professors here in South Africa here. And these are the people that are being used, you know, in court now, you know, to write papers, you publish papers, you know, you write books, you know, for the universities. And, you know, they are being celebrated here. So that's what I'm saying. To some, the grass can be greener. To some, the grass can be, you know, can be dry. And of course, to those that are artisans, in fact, let me put that, to those that are artisans, I want to say that the grass is so dry for them here because the South Africans, they don't want to see them. They don't want to see them, no matter how good they think they are. They don't want to see them because they believe that once they're here, they are taking their jobs from them. Because they believe that what they can do, they don't want any other person to do it. So that is why I said the other time that if you know you are coming here, then be a specialist in your area. It should be something that South Africans cannot do, and that is what you are going to do. Then with that, you are highly welcome. So that's why I said the grass can be greener to some people. The grass can also be dry, very, very dry to some. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much, Tony. You put it very well and correctly. In other words, the way we say it in Nigeria is shine your eye. If you want to do it well. So the lesson we take from you is that however the grass will be depends on how you prepare to come. If you want green grass, then you should get yourself very equipped and do it regularly. And if you want your grass to be dry, jump the train and go wherever it stops and see whatever it takes. I can also see that Dr. Hawa is here online. Dr. Hawa, if you are still here, please would you use 3 minutes to let us have your own experience as a Nigerian migrant in Sweden, right? Yeah,
Yes.
let us know.
Good
We can hear you.
afternoon. It's now 12, so good afternoon. I have lived in Sweden now for 30-something years, and I have learned a lot, and I have also noticed a lot of young Nigerians coming here in recent years. So I chose to look at, like, broadly speaking, 5 areas. I have only 2 minutes, so 5 areas in quick succession. Most importantly, coming to Sweden is important for a person to know. It's important to distinguish between whether one is coming as a refugee or whether one is coming as a labor migrant. As a refugee, the conditions really have not changed, although the assessment of the conditions have changed. That means the way the government assesses whether you are a genuine refugee or not has changed. Sweden used to be a lot more generous than it is right now. And sometimes I think Nigerians or other migrants also don't really recognize or pay attention to the fact that the change in governments in different countries around the world, in this case Sweden, from the right wing to the left wing, makes a big difference as to how your migrant status is assessed, because they find a way to change the laws and to change the personnel, the staff, the assessment processes, and so on, that can make things very difficult. And at the moment, things are very difficult for Nigerians in Sweden that are not established in terms of their records being already assessed in the former standards. So a lot of Nigerians who come now are in difficulty, and those who have been here already, but they are caught in the middle. That means their papers have not been processed, are on their way out. They have to leave because the conditions will have changed. And I'll tell the conditions. That's my point number 4, survival. So the first is the condition of migration or refugee. The second is language. The majority of people in Sweden actually speak English, because English in Sweden is almost like English is in Nigeria. Although the difference being it is not completely an official language. So in official communication, you have to do it in Swedish, except in certain professions. Certain professions that are, I hear my previous presenter talking about South Africa, in a way is very similar. If you are very highly qualified, you can get a job even in Sweden, even without Swedish language. They will give you a period of usually 2 years to familiarize yourself with the language and be able to communicate. But it's becoming more difficult, like I said, because we have now a right-wing government that is not friendly to people migrating, especially from outside Europe. So language is number 2. Number 3 is that in being an undocumented migrant in Sweden is very difficult. It's much more difficult than being an unregistered person in the UK or in the US, which is the more common areas that Nigerians go to. Simply because in Sweden, they have a system of what we call the Nigerian Identity Number, NIN. They already have an established system like that for many, many, many decades. And everything you do in Sweden is determined by that number. You basically do everything with it. You rent a house, you open a bank account, everything is dependent on that number. You get that number according to the status you have in Sweden. Refugees have a set of numbers in a certain way. Established people and citizens have certain numbers. And without that number, you are not able to do much here. You can't get a legal job. You can't do much else, really. So that's very difficult, and people don't understand, perhaps. I mean, I think even in Europe, there aren't many countries like that basically know everything you are doing because of that number. It becomes very easy to trace people. So there are people who are not registered, but they are extremely rare. I think they are very rare in Sweden, and they certainly can't do things in public. That means they can work, for instance, they can work, for instance, but they are more likely to work with people, shady people who will not pay them a fair a fair salary or wages for the work they do because of lack of that number. That is how important that number is. They call it personal number here. That also makes it difficult, for instance, for a migrant to enter into contracts, agreements, like to rent a flat. You can't rent a flat because you don't have an ID number. You don't have that national identity number. They call it person number or personal number. So things get very complicated and difficult for migrants who don't have complete registration or who have become undocumented people over the period of time since they arrived here. Number 4, what is important when I mentioned the change of government being important is the fact that there's a huge difference between, we had a new government in Sweden last year. The requirement put on people to be able to reside in Sweden has changed tenfold. Previously, you just needed to have a salary. If you get a job that will give you the equivalent of 13,000 krona, they call it, they jumped it to double it to 27,000. 27,000 if you convert to Naira today is 3,996,000 Naira. That is near impossible, even in Sweden, to come and get a job straight like that. And not only that, they have suddenly last week actually raised that to 32,000 krona per month. That means 4,736,000 Naira you have to earn. I'm saying this is the impact of government policy and on how Nigerians are able to live here, whether they can come or not. And many Nigerians who are here already, I know are planning to go because some of them are my students, and I have to write reference letters for them trying to go somewhere else because suddenly the conditions have changed. And they know being here, they are unable to get the kind of job that will give them what they are to fulfill the government requirement for them to stay. There are people who are here who are so-called underground because they are not in any records of the state. That is possible. Such people are supported by churches. They are also supported by individuals because it's not against the law to support somebody who is illegally in a country in Sweden. So people can support that person without themselves getting into trouble. So there are some people like that here. There are churches that help people like that here. There are charities that help people like that to get food and so on. But it's a very difficult life to live because, especially because of the temperature drop. When winter comes, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. I think sometimes if you don't experience it, you don't realize how bad cold can get. So I know a couple of people here who are really in deep trouble because you have to have certain kind of warmth. Even if you are going to be walking the streets all day long, you have to have certain kinds of clothing to do that. And some people don't have that. The charities help, like I said, but you are totally dependent on charities and so on to live. There are also some categories of Nigerians, and I have met especially those who are quite highly educated. They come to Sweden, but in my thinking, in my relationship with such people, I've met like 3, 4 people over the years. They see Sweden more as a transit, rather than a place of residence. So they come here, establish some legal standing, but really their intention is not to stay here. So often such people have moved to the UK or they have moved to the US, where they really, their intended place of travel. I hope I have finished my 2 minutes. I mean, I don't want to exceed it, but I'm happy to listen to questions or comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. You have just spent 1 minute, 59 minutes. I mean, 59 seconds.
59.
You have 1
So
second
there is
remaining.
50 seconds for questions if somebody wants to ask a question.
Yeah, we will use that for that. I was tempted to stop you, but I was more excited to hear you speak. So I'm caught in between job and desire, and I gave in for desire because you have said so many things that I'm happy that the Director of Migration Affairs for SFRMI is here, hearing the situation. I think it will inform their conversation and negotiations with EU countries, especially Sweden, when this happens. and because it is very important that we hear it firsthand. And again, I am also in doing partnership with destination countries. These are some areas we want to pay attention to. So you have heard it yourself, how it is in Sweden. If you know somebody who wants to go to Sweden now, from here, whether
It's
your
the wrong
brother, your
time.
sister, even your enemy, tell them that Sweden they call to, tell them say this is how it is there, so that let them not just let them think somewhere else. And if you know somebody who is there already, make you know how you manage that person. Because for Nigeria, as long as the dog cross, we don't anyhow, we must call you to say, bros, drop. So if that person is in Sweden, they may have to be very lenient with such person. I heard that there is support from churches or from charity. You know, Nigerian people, we don't care. When we have more things like that, somebody will say, maybe that one will help me. So let people know good things because they hear things from church they help. Or some individual feel help me. That person say, I might just be that lucky person who one church person go help. You heard it that even if they help you, the weather will deal with you. So it is better to think wise and think twice before you want to migrate to Sweden. We cannot collaborate with you so much, how much government influence deal with migration issues. So I would leave it with you for there, and let's take some insight from people here. And then please, those online, if you have a question, we have a window of 10 minutes interaction now. And if you're interested in asking questions or sharing a comment, please let me see your hand on the floor here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we have 5 minutes and then 5 minutes from the virtual. In other words, you have 30 seconds to answer, ask your question and 30 seconds to get your answer. So let me see number one, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So your 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you. Mine is a comment. Out of my 30 seconds, it's okay. Kamal Bello is my name. I'm professor of politics and administration and the dean of social science, National Open University of Nigeria. Mine is a comment, and we start from the IOM. The point she mentioned is very. Migration is a right away from refugee. It's a right. It's a fundamental human right. But the problem we have in Nigeria is that migration should be ordered. Illegal migration is what is causing trouble for us. All over the world is recognized that you can move, but our movement is too illegal. One, you mentioned it, people just want to go. Even the professor will say you want to go and drive taxi. The mentality is a bit weak. You are doing something without any prestige just because of. And we are doing similar thing in Nigeria. Somebody who better to be in the village to farm, there's farmland, that land in Nigeria. He will come to the city and be selling, what is it called? Chips in the odor and be selling socks. So we need to do our migration orderly. That's the bottom line. Thank you very much.
Are you number 2? Number 2.
Thank you. I would like to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Ayodele, Director of TRA, National Open University of Nigeria. I'm a biologist, and migration is one of the behavior of animals. But there is no animal that will migrate where there is abundance and where the environment is conducive. And I suppose that this discussion will be taken to those that cause the factors that make our people to migrate out of the country. Nigeria, we talk and talk and talk. We always have good ideas. But the target group that's supposed to have looked at the problems will not be reached for them to make amendments. We just spoke with somebody from South Africa. I sojourned to South Africa for sabbatical, and rarely will you see any South African that will migrate from South Africa because their environment is conducive, even including students. Advertising scholarship all over. You will never see any student that want to take scholarship outside because the environment is conducive. My question is that, Ambassador, So which effort are you making to carry this sensitization to those that cause the problem of this level of migration? Which are the politicians? That is my question.
Yes, she's the government. Number 3.
It is good that I'm following Prof because my question addendum to his thought. To the same ambassador, the agent of the government. I hear that one of your major objectives is to regularize the migrants, the condition of the migrants, and also the welfare of the migrants and their families. Now, in the health sector and also academic, we are losing brains that we have invested so much in this country. And we have workforce that are fall below the requirement because of this migration. What are you and the government that have sent you here doing about this? Yes, have foreign scholars that have gone, they don't come back, but it's our resources that have invested in them. Is it only to make their condition better, to their welfare, that is the concern of the government, or the investment that we are not getting returns? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The questions are going to the ambassador, but that doesn't mean she alone will answer. Because the question of the root causes of migration is broadened and then interfaces within different stakeholders. So those are the trouble there. Please be ready to chime in as much.
Okay. Dr. Matthew Obuche, Head of Department, Political Science. Now, since this is a roundtable to look at the causes and the issues, and when it comes towards the time that recommendations would be made, the points that we've been able to find in a recent analysis is that there are more of similarities than dissimilarities on the factors causing internal and external migration. Take the issue of internal migration in Nigeria, in country, as they call it. Our study discovered that 2 basic causes: the search for better economic opportunities is responsible for the spike in rural-urban drive. Both skilled and unskilled workers are leaving the rural areas to come to the urban centers, the capitals, and the major cities in Nigeria because they think there are better opportunities. And it's also the same factor, the search for better opportunities, that is driving both skilled and unskilled workers to go out country. And the second factor again has to do with the issue of insecurity, the activities of bandits, harder farmer clashes, kidnapping, and all that has made the rural areas insecure, is driving both to leave the rural areas home to the urban centers in Nigeria, as far as the internal migration issue is concerned. And that same factor is also responsible to a great degree. This time, the both skilled and unskilled workers living in Nigeria are thinking that the security of their lives and the quality of their lives will greatly improve when they leave this place. So these similarities, rather than dissimilarities, was an important finding in the things in the analysis that were made. And I hope it will be useful this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that insight. This is what we were actually looking for from your research. Thank you, ma'am. You're number 4. 5.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. So mine aligns more with the youth, maybe because I'm also a youth. So as youth, we are fond of saying, or die na die. We say something must kill a man. So it's a common term among us. When you're talking to youth, you hear them say that, I think I die for a road than say I die for a year, the same kind of death that we experience. So recently, because of what I do online, I was talking with somebody. She told me she wanted to migrate irregularly. So I tried my best to advise. I even told her that the irregular migration routes, there are political crises right now in those places. She boldly told me that this is the best time to move across that route because they'll not mind them. Their interest will not be on them at this time. There are so many myths out there. So when I saw that this event was going to be held in a university environment, I was super excited. I was thinking I would see your students here, but you do distance learning. So I don't know how many of your students are online to get this information because the truth is, not only the uneducated migrate, the educated graduates, BSc holders also migrate irregularly, but they don't think they are the sharper ones that can maneuver this route and get to their destination. So is this one drop out of many other jobs for a university, or is just a one-off thing? And just because I know that there's a media personnel there, Mr. Umar, you're welcome. What's the media doing also to also pass this information down to the grassroots, to those that don't even understand the kind of English we're speaking in this hall at the moment? Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting that. I actually took 5 numbers. No, no, raise your hand. You raise your hand. Something make you want to talk. Okay, 15 seconds for each of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to congratulate the center for organizing this very wonderful exposition or sensitization. Mine is just a contribution. I want to plead with the Center for Excellence in Migration and Lady Anya Nechi and the ambassador to please ensure that they organize this type of sensitization every quarter until the year finishes to help young men and women to migrate legally, who should be allowed to live, the best of their lives once in a lifetime. You can't be in a place where things are done wrongly and you think that this is the way the world moves. I'm telling you, during the AFCON, we had about 4 million Nigerians live in Ivory Coast, more than that in Ghana, and even more in South Africa and in Botswana. Nooks and crannies of African countries, you find Nigerians there. So let me just give one instance before I drop my microphone. My brother had a farm, a graduate of geology. He had a farm in Albara. The large farm was destroyed by headers who even threatened to take his life. Now he wants to even go to South Africa to go and become a farmer or Botswana. So please, let this type of sensitization be held 5-6 times. Even Food Nigeria Diaspora Commission, headed by Adike Dabiri, to help people to do what? Migrate legally. People must leave. What is happening in this country is a sham. That's the truth.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Adego from Faculty of Health Sciences. First, I want to say a big thank you to the Directorate for organizing this sensitization. I have a quick question directed to Mrs. Ukamaka. And you mentioned that your organization undertakes activities for migration or helping migrants. Please, can you throw more light on the requirements for being a part of the organization, or how, if one wants to migrate, how can one become a beneficiary of your organization? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If I didn't get this question, I would have thought that we missed it. Because for every migration program sensitization I have done, the last question they will always ask me is, Oga, how you go help us live? So after all this is to say here, how you go help us live? If I don't get money, can I be paying much more? So the question that to Ukamaka is, how will your organization help somebody to live? Anyhow, you are going to answer that. It is an answer that is expected from this group. Before I go to you to ask those questions, Dr. Howard and Tony, I hope you know that you can also come in if you have some insight in that. So I will come back to you for that. Let me recognize the presence of our dear friend, Usman Umar, who works with the ASO Radio and Television. He actually sure good to be here. I was chatting him, said, are you still able to come? And I didn't know he has been sick. I just took discharge, but he still sure good to be here. And he completed the circle of this conversation, the media. The media is a critical stakeholder in migration awareness program. And the reason for that being that both the good, the bad, and the ugly are told by the media. So I will give you your 2 minutes or 3 minutes that everybody got to let us know what media is seeing in what you hear and what you people even tell people with regards to Nigerian migration. 3 minutes before we get to the other.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Without wasting further time, it's good to be here. And the conversations I actually walked into are not surprising, especially the questions that have come up from the participants generally. First of all, before I talk briefly within 3 minutes about what the media is seeing and what we are telling, someone kept repeating illegal migration, illegal migration, illegal migration. I wanted to believe that being a center of excellence, things should be contextualized and situated properly. We have come to agree within the migration cycle, we don't want to describe any form of movement as illegal. It can either be irregular or regular. It's the basic right of every human being to move from one location to another.
It's as long as you fulfill. Now, if you fulfill the requirements, the basic requirements for that movement, we call you a regular migrant. If you don't, you're only being an irregular migrant, but it is actually your right to move from Nigeria to anywhere else you want to move to, or to move from any village into any town or city within the country. Having said that, of course, the media, we are always at the receiving end, but people quickly forget that we are only a reflection of what we see. The media isn't something that is up there and we are all down here. We are all here together. So we only, like a mirror, we only reflect to you what we see. But when we come to migration conversation, definitely there are ways that the media can be culprits in enhancing some ideas, propagating some beliefs about migration that needs correction, that needs some form of panel beating, and that's why you constantly have, workshops and sensitization workshops involving the media organizations by organizations such as CSO Netmate, IMO, and others, because they want the media to understand how to formulate the language of migration generally. Communicating migration is a tricky business. For instance, it's very easy for you when you turn on your television. What you basically see about migration has always been about people trying to cross the Mediterranean, people dying in the Sahara, and all of that. Those are the preponderance of reports that make it to the media. But we all here believe that Nigeria, we keep saying that we are 200 million, but someone gave us, offhand statistics about how many Nigerians are in Botswana, South Africa, and other places. There is no corner of the world that you go that you don't find Nigerians in their numbers. So have we even bothered to put these numbers together to the ones at home, whether we still be 200 million people that we keep calling ourselves? So definitely a lot of people migrate regularly, and migration is of immense benefit to them, their host communities, and even the places they are places of origin. We don't talk about this much in the media, and this is where we accept in the media, we accept this responsibility. And the reasons are not far-fetched. Media ownership factors. The media ownership factor is based on, I have the media, I have the money, I set up this organization to make profit. And if I am to make profit, I need stories, I need pictures, visuals that excites the public. And what excites more than seeing a boat capsizing on the Mediterranean? You understand? So these are some of the factors that drive such stories. But there are success stories of migration that we must also pay attention to. And I think that's the efforts that organizations such as CSO Netmate have been making. And I want to believe the center here will also be paying attention to that. By the time we begin to pay attention to the positive sides of migration, whether internal migration or cross-border migration, definitely we will begin to see how we will accept that migration is not something that is bad. It's not all those pictures in our heads as expounded by the previous stories around migration. I wish I had enough time, but I don't like being told your time is up,
And
because
I'm telling you,
my business time is business. Thank you very much for your attention.
thank you so much. Thank you. I want to crave the indulgence of this group to be lenient and generous or considerate, or which other adjective, to accommodate our two participants here, our two discussants who particularly found it tight to be here today, but because they are committed, needs to be here. The government deals with negotiation, international partner deals with facilitating. So the two persons are actually working on a serious program for the migration governance space of Nigeria, hoping starting tomorrow, and I've been holding them down here. So I will not allow them to escape without answering those questions put across to them. Their only passport to leave now to give us a convincing answer to all the questions put towards them. If not, we'll follow you to the car. So let me start with the Ambassador Nigeria. Our colleague here said people should leave this country. So help them to leave. And so what are you doing to bring this topic to those who are causing this problem? And they say it's the politicians, yeah, boss. So please answer the questions to you. And then some are shared with IOM. So she would do that as well. And then you can take your leave.
Thank you very much. I'll try my best. I wanted to start from the earlier comment when somebody asked if you can deny visa to people coming to Nigeria. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria is El Dorado for a lot of people, especially within Africa and in West Africa. So as a country of destination, we have many persons who are not Africans who are here. So there's always pressure for this. I would like to share it to partly answer a question. Now, when you request for a visa, there are requirements. We have strict requirements which we tick before we issue visa. And so if you apply for a visa, you must read the platform, the NIS platform, to be sure that you have all the requirements. Because if you have less than one, your visa will not be processed. And most times we have outsourced the visa, or we have front desk officers. And so they will not bring the visa for me. For instance, the visa request for me to come in, whether it's somebody that is beneficial to Nigeria, is just ticking. And so that's why when we negotiate, right now, we are negotiating with the EU. That's what I've been looking at my time in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's trying to answer the second question. You know, and we ask them, when two Nigerians go to request for visa, for instance, student visa, they have all the requirements, they went to the same school, they have the same degrees, everything you've asked has been satisfied. And then because you like somebody wearing yellow, and you don't like the next person wearing red, or you woke up from the wrong side of the bed, and you just deny visa. And what we are trying to negotiate and struggle is the Schengen countries and other countries must stick to their visa requirements. You cannot decide how many you want and how many you don't want. We know every country has a right. It's a sovereign right to decide how many persons you allow. But you must give clear guidelines that you should follow strictly. And so we've been negotiating this for almost 2 years now, and we are trying our best to make sure that Nigerians are properly protected. And so I heard from Doc, what we do in the migration space is all of society, all of government. And so whether you are a politician, whether you are in the parliament or in government or in judiciary, we are all working towards the same goal. For instance, if we get, policy across, we have the need, the parliament support, so they give the support. So whatever is in the space, gaps, it's actually all of government. So it's not particularly only maybe politicians or maybe those who are in charge. So that's why we have this sensitization. And so when my brother takes it in the press, we all are asking what we ask from government is we must get the right narratives. And that's why we are insisting in the Rabat process that Europe must get the right narrative. By the time it's illegal, you're already criminalizing migration. And so we fight very seriously in the international space that all migrations are either regular or irregular. There's nothing illegal in migration. So we should start using more of migration because the mindset from the narrative will determine how a regular migrant or irregular migrant is treated. And then I wanted to add that, when people go, we agree that lots of people are migrating, the Japa syndrome, where we have our very skilled workers. What we have forgotten is that there's always break-in.
there are people who go out and come back better, and they give back to the society. It's not always all negative. I'm not talking about remittances now. I'm talking about those who go out, get better education, get more skills, and come back and in what during circulation. So it's not all negative. Human rights, migration is a human right. I'm sure you will not want to train your son, and there are better opportunities abroad, and you think your son will do better, and then somebody says you cannot go. So everybody has a right to go. All we ask is policies should be such that the bright and the best remain in the country to develop the country. So we are here, to always support the center. If you call us now, and you have more seminars, we promise you that we will do our best to ensure that we are here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for that. It's very, I think, encouraging to know that the government is actually sticking it out to ensure that Nigerians are protected when they want to move. We still want to hear also more on the side of the root causes, but that is not for today. That's what we are doing to make Nigeria favorable, so that those who will live by choice, not necessity. As I said, somebody's farm is destroyed. That is the means of livelihood, and it has to run away to go and become a farmer somewhere. So let's hear IOM in their support to the Nigerian government in managing migration. How do you bring an answer to some of these questions? Especially the one asked you, now they help people move.
Thank you very much. I don't know. With regards to the question, do we help people move? I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we, as I mentioned earlier on, our primary objective is to support our member states to make sure that everything is put in place that will facilitate safe, regular, and orderly migration. Within this space, we have a number of initiatives that we have implemented with government partners and also civil society organizations. I'll give some examples. We have what we call the Migrant Resource Centers that are domiciled with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. The intention behind these centers is that they are spaces that people that have the intention of migrating can go to get information on how to migrate regularly. So when you go to such places, you're meant to meet staff of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment that have been trained to support intended migrants with information such as visa requirements, safe migration pathways in different countries, and so on and so forth. The center must also support returning migrants to be able to reintegrate back into the society. Some other initiatives that we've carried out is basically awareness raising campaigns that we do with community-based organizations and civil society organizations, just to provide information on the need or why it is better to migrate regularly, and where people can go to get resources that can support that process. So within that sense, yes, we do support both through the government and through our partners, and in manners such as I have just explained. I hope that responds to the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to help IOM. IOM is not a visa agent. They're not a travel agent. The Migration Management Organization, as she said, they try to put things in place. And of course, they provide the health screening facilities that will help those who are going to places like UK, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand to get their authenticated travel health documents. So on this note, we thank you, the ambassador representing NCFRMI and Mrs. Okamaka, for IOM, for being here with us.
I just want to find out for the academic field, in the academia, is there any support from IOM in any way for academia to carry out research and other education research or training of returning migrants? What is the role of IOM to the academia?
Okay, to respond to that question, I want to also emphasize that in all our interventions, one of the guiding principles that we try to reflect in our work is to have a whole of government, whole of society approach. And within this space, we have different stakeholders, including academia, participating. Everything, I also need to mention that IOM is a highly projectized organization. That means we work with available resources that are targeted to specific interventions. Of course, we have different proposals ranging from the need to do assessments or carry out studies, the need to improve integration and rehabilitation facilities, and so on and so forth. However, everything is dependent on the availability of funding, and that is our biggest handicap. So yes, it will be our delight to partner with universities and academia in this space, because there's still a lot of work to be done with regards to data and information when we discuss migration in Nigeria, and also when we talk about solutions to address whatever challenges we're having. However,
okay, thank you, ma'am, for that answer. I think to help flesh that out, sometimes we in the academia do things in the other way around. When you don't call us, we put ourselves before you. In other words, we carry out the research and we come to you to show you the reports. And that might be where you would need us. And then we start that conversation. Maybe to help you to do your project for the next time. So what she has just told us is that IOM works on projects. And if what you're looking for fits into their project, there's possibility of collaboration. If it doesn't, then you journey together to make that. So thank you once again for providing this insightful contribution to our conversation this day. It does not stop here, and we will continue. Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Kamaka. Thank you. No, your group is not over. Don't go far because I have a question. I'll see them off to the elevator and come back. Okay. I know Dr. Hawa would be also juggling between this event and her program in Sweden. Again, this one, we're not giving you 2 minutes, we're giving you 1 minute.
1 minute.
It is 1 minute of 60 seconds.
Okay.
So we want you to make an input in the conversation from the reaction. If there's something, yes, thank you. The mic is yours.
Okay. So let me start by saying I studied in ABU back a long time ago. And one of the first, during my year, when we were going to write our undergraduate project, the main Department of History, by the way, the project we were given to write about, everybody in my year, I'm sure if there's some from my year at that time, they'll be listening now, was migration in Nigeria. That was the general theme we got. And each person then chose the particular type of migration they wanted to write about. It was a different time completely, I'm thinking, in Nigeria. This may be nothing to do with what you are saying, or the conversation, but I think the fact that Nigerians want to move abroad en masse, to the extent that departments are closing their, medical departments are closing their sections because they run out of staff. I'm sorry to say, I think the discussion we're having here for me is sad. It's sad. We tend to also put more emphasis on how to facilitate people leaving. As a historian, I can't help but look at Nigeria's location in the last 500 years. We have already, I think, emigrated. So many of us have emigrated. So many of us have contributed to so many things going on in different parts of the world. I think we need to recenter where this discussion of migration should be taking place, what it should be about. I'm saying we need to focus on why are people wanting to leave? rather than facilitate where they are going. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Like somebody said, and most people agree, mobility, number one, is a right. Number two, mobility is a human condition. People like to move. But the rate at which Nigerians are moving now is no longer healthy for Nigeria. Individuals, yes, but it's unhealthy. We need to understand what is the ill health in Nigeria that is making people live. So I think it's sad that we tend to be taking it lightly, that people want to move, so let them go. I think it's sad. I think the research should focus on what is wrong with Nigeria that people want to leave. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
happy to listen to questions, but I think that's where we should focus the research in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We are in a deep trouble. And that trouble is that we know what we are doing, but we don't know what is doing us. That's the issue. Everybody knows that we don't have to move if we don't need to move. But the situation is that it's like we just have to live now. That is why we're saying, why we are working on why we should not live. Those who have to live, how would they be facilitated to move so that their dignity is respected and their rights are protected? So I don't think any of us, especially in this room, is happy that people are living and working to ensure people live. And that's why the question was put out earlier that those who are responsible for unconducive conditions in Nigeria should be part of the conversation. So we appreciate that and still want to say that our conversation is holistic. Why we work on that and conscientiously work on that, let's maximize the move as it is happening now. And that takes me back again to those on this desk here present. We return to the youth. You have heard the conversations, you have even had questions put here. Is there anything jumping out again from your own end that you want to interject in the next 60 seconds?
All right. I want to appreciate the participants, the professor and doctor that brought up issue from political science, that brought up highlighted internal migration. And from our previous discussion last year, December, at the Civil Society Forum, we brought this out and we had in-depth research about the internal migration and its influence on external migration. And through our studies, we got to realize that internal migration plays a major role in this external migration. And one of the key effects or challenge that this internal migration brings from the rural to the urban is the stress that we're experiencing in the resources within the urban areas. So just imagine now, the city center had a plan for 500 people. Let's imagine a population of 500 people. And you have issues at the rural center, which made an influx of 100 persons added to the 500 persons. Certainly that 100 persons will draw a strain on the 500 persons that is within the city center and causing an issue of lack of resources, lack of job, making it difficult for everybody. And those who are in the urban center already have a skill and feel that they have enough resources to take them out to where they can make life better and they leave the country. So in this process, this whole issue keeps going round and round and round and round. As long as the push factor from the rural sector is not sectors are not being addressed adequately. Like initially, we throw ourselves back to the 1990s, where agriculture and the rural area were actually remitting enough to the sustenance of the community society. We realized that issues of migration were not really as deep as it is now. People actually could survive in the urban center. And also, one of the key causes of this is the insecurity that we're experiencing. We're not having enough food. And normally, from what our studies and the way economy has been moving since the rural sectors are the ones that actually go into agriculture more. They're the ones actually supplying this food. And we also get revenue, a lot of revenue from agriculture itself. So all these issues from our studies, we realize that this internal migration on its own has a lot of influence in external migration. And if we do not try to go back to the drawing table and try to see how we can reinvest into the sustenance of the rural sector, we will still have this overflow in the urban sector, which brings stress and strain to the resources within the urban centers. So that's my own input, and that's where I want to draw our attention to. Probably further studies into this, further research into this will open more that we can make useful.
Okay, at this juncture, I would take two insights from the media and from the center who conveyed us here. And leaving this conversation with true story of a migrant, which we have here in a video, so that we can give life again to this conversation. There's a short clip, one of them will just see it.
And before we continue, I'd like you to picture something. Imagine living in a country where you feel completely frustrated by your government's efforts and feel absolutely no way out. What do? Well, for most Nigerians, they decide to japa, the Yoruba word for run. And so huge is this problem that recently elected President Tinubu asked people in the diaspora in the US to come back home and forget the frustrations of the previous government. But is this enough to allow the young people here to remain? That's the question we have today. And I'm going to begin with Samson. Now, you are one of the people who is saying that, look, this country is not really working out for me, and given the chance, I am taking the first flight out of here and never coming back. Why?
So I'm a digital entrepreneur. I think about me having solutions to many problems and then still trying to battle with infrastructure, thinking about power, thinking about my internet, thinking about infrastructure that will help me do many things. I wouldn't want to do that. So I would think about me looking for a place where I have all of those things that can enhance my idea to create the solutions that I'm looking for.
Okay, so give me an idea of how frustrating it is, this lack of infrastructure on a normal day. Paint a picture for me.
So just imagine me getting into the airport or in the marketplace and I need to quickly attend to one of my clients and I don't have access to internet, or me trying to even use my data to do what I want to do, but I'm locked out because of the fact that the codes are not working and all of that. I've had several challenges like this where I'm trying to do something, but I get into the environment, there's no Wi-Fi that can make me do stuff, there's no infrastructure that can give me an idea of what I want to do. It's very frustrating.
Okay, so let me hear from other people here, just the state of affairs in Nigeria at the moment. How would you describe it? Oludayo.
So the case of Nigeria, yeah, you might see things are not working right, but it's not beyond redemption. Nigeria is going to be a better place if we all contribute our parts to make it a better place.
Okay, so you say it's going to be a better place, but what is the situation presently?
Yes, there's a reason why we are a developing nation, right? We are not as developed as the Western world, yes, but nevertheless, things are getting better. You can see unicorns springing up around everywhere. I'm in the data space, I'm in the tech space, so I can see a lot of things happening. So yes, things are getting better, and you can only hope that things get better.
Okay,
It's
so
not beyond redemption.
things are getting better, and yet, Nimide, as you so beautifully wrote in one of your articles for your blog, people are already leaving, and they're leaving in droves, and it's having an impact already, not just on society, but on your personal life. Can you tell me about that, please?
Well, things have gotten really lonely. Typically, you have to work. I normally run a very tight schedule. I love friendships, and I would be able to say on Monday I'm hanging out with this person, I'm hanging out with that person. On Friday, but the shortage of friendships and the shortage of things to do it has really been on an increase. Beyond that, I also understand why people are leaving. The thing about living in Nigeria is that the paradox is that there's a lot of individual brilliance, right? But it doesn't translate to anything collectively because, like he rightly said, there's no structure, there's no infrastructure in place. So people want to take that brilliance and take it to a country that works, a structure that works. And you can't blame them. So even for those of us who have not, summoned up courage or being able to just uproot ourselves and leave, we are left with, the keeping up with our friends with all of the digital media, social media, Twitter. It feels like we're seeing every day, but the truth is we are separated. We are alienated from people we've grown up with. We are separated from family. Like I have friends that, one of my friends, today is her mom's birthday. She's literally the only child and she doesn't even know when she's going to see her, right? And it's just happening like that. We talk about the impact it has on youth, but there's also impact on the parents you're leaving behind. The people that you don't know when they're going to fall sick. Things are really bad. You don't know when, if the next time you're coming into Nigeria is to bury your mom or to bury your dad. So,
all right. Talking about experiences that one has had in South Africa as an immigrant. Personally, I've had several. I remember when I had some symptoms of stroke in 2013, and I went to a government hospital in Pretoria. I worked there myself. I registered. I made a complaint, but I think because I went there by myself, not in an ambulance, I wasn't attended to. I got there around 9 p.m. and I was just told to sit down at the emergency area. Despite the fact of the symptoms and everything, I called on doctors, nurses, nobody attended to me until I eventually got paralyzed in the hospital. Even then, I wasn't attended to until the following morning when a student doctor, who happened to be a white lady, saw me and she was very angry. She was the one who eventually had to put me on a bed. I was already paralyzed. I became a stroke patient because of that. Well, I think that was because around that time was the period of xenophobia, and because I am an immigrant, I wasn't given the attention. Because several people came in after I had booked myself into the hospital that were attended to because they could speak the language and all of that. And when the nurses, some of the nurses on duty saw that I could only speak English, that was one of the major reasons why I was just asked to go and sit down. Now I'm a stroke patient today. Well, I say because I'm an immigrant, because eventually MRI scan was done, there was nothing, which means if they had given me something just to thin my blood immediately I got there, maybe I wouldn't have had stroke today. Well, that's the life of an immigrant in South Africa. In terms of employment, yeah, it's also not very good. The discrimination is there. No matter what you have, no matter your certificate, no matter whether you're a skilled individual or, I mean, for example, I fall into the category of exceptional skill person, but for each application, for each interview I attended once, it is seen that, well, this person is not from here, then nothing. And I have met people on seat who are occupying seats where they were not qualified to occupy because they didn't have degree or experiences. Yeah, so I understand that the experience is not good. Academically also, I remember when I put in for my PhD program with a university, I was already admitted. I got the supervisor, everything was on. My proposal was already agreed with by my supervisor, just for me to go and register. And then I was told when I got to registration that, listen, there is no bursary, there is no funding for you, that the system said from this year, that was then from that year, no more bursary for foreigners, nothing, no funding for them. So if you are going to do experiment or do whatever, you have to source your own funding. And it was just so difficult. So, yeah, experiences as an immigrant is really not palatable. But like I said, there's other very good areas. You make friends, good people who are good friends, who are ready to relate with you very well, especially once you are an immigrant and you're not on the street. Well, I'm not on the street, so it's very good with me. Make professional friends, make good people, meet good people who want to be friends with you. Yeah, that is an.
Thank you. We have also colored our conversation. So this ties with the last two reactions from the conversation here. One is this should have the youth at the center of our concern. But the unique nature of this university is one that we may not have to see the students in campus where we are right now. So what is the plan of ensuring that this message reaches down to their students, and how much would the media collaborate in taking this message?
Yeah, our students will get to know everything happening here. Number one, today we've got a lot of publicity. I mean, on our own, our university, we have our own media session that is recording and going to make all these things happen in social media and YouTube and what have you. And I know that our students will be curious to go and visit these sites and see what is happening. And of course, like I said, since our own main business is ODL, Open and Distance Learning, so we have all it takes to get this information all over the globe, not only our students in Nigeria, but even students that are not connected to now can get to know and hear this. And of course, some of the things we have been doing, like publishing our findings in international journals, we also make people get to know more about this. So I'm very sure that I'm aware that our students will have no problem accessing what is happening here today.
From the media, indeed.
All right, thank you very much once again. From the clips that we have watched, especially the first one, the one done by DW, the German media organization. One thing I would like to say is the media has the power to make a stone look like a mountain. And it also has the power to reduce a mountain to the size of a stone. It depends on how it intends. And when I say intent, that intent, I say it in capital letters because it connotes a lot. Depending on who is handling the camera, an ugly person can be made to look very, very ugly. And an ugly person can also be made to look very, very beautiful. It depends. I don't know if I have enough time to expatiate on this, but I just want you to chew on this, that most of the things that saturate the media space are not the absolute reality of such societies. Nigeria, Japa syndrome, Japa syndrome. You go to social media, Japa, Japa, Japa. You go to mainstream media, some of the time, Japa, Japa conversations and all of that. But if you have visited communities in Nigeria, I don't know if Nigerians are categorized, and there are some who are more Nigerians than, because if you go to villages, there are also Nigerians, aren't they? Go tell them, go talk to them about Japa. If you go to our communities, I'm not talking about us here who are in the city, we watch TV, we are immersed in globalization. We know what's happening everywhere just on the click of a button. I'm not talking about us. Are we more Nigerians than those who don't have access to these agents of globalization? Certainly we are not. So when we have these conversations and we don't contextualize them, we tend to take specific experiences to mean or to reflect a general reality, which is not true. Because as much as you have young Nigerians who say Nigeria is bad and the only option is for us to japa, on that same note, you will have hundreds who will tell you that I am willing to stay here to make things right. You don't get to hear the voices of those ones. The ones you get to hear more like I said about intent, is jackpot, 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 jackpot. And so the pictures in your head, which are there by the media, whether on social or mainstream, is that of as if Nigeria is a place where there is no so. But the reality, this is not to downplay the fact that, of course, things are terribly bad. I wouldn't even sit here and say things are bad, but I will add that things are terribly, terribly bad. But as much as this is, we in the media, I tell you again, we have what it takes to make a mountain look like a stone, just as much as we have the power to make a stone look like a mountain. So when we are shouting and shouting and shouting, be sensible to decipher for yourself which part of action to take.
Thank you. You have to hear the both sides of the story, okay, for you to make your right judgment. So the media person have also told us now how much we need to do that in the context of our conversation on migration and Nigerian dynamics now. As we are coming to this very last point of this interesting debate, conversation on migration issue with an interactive space, bringing of those on this other side. I also just recognize the presence of the CEO of the Nigerian Library, the Chief National Librarian of this country, Professor Chinwe Anglogi, who has walked in, and it's a pleasure to have you. He's also a founding strong member of the Center for Migration Studies, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, who is also part of our teaching of staff. Good to have you here, sharing solidarity with Center of Excellence on Migration and Global Studies. The thing we are talking about is how to make Nigeria a good place so that migration will be a choice and not a necessity. And for those who will leave, that they may be able to live in dignity, where their human rights is protected and their humanness is also respected. This is our conversation. We don't know if you have anything in your archive in that place at the National Library that has answer to our question. The answer to our question is, what must we do? How do we get those who are involved to do the right thing? Me, I don't want to leave. I like Nigeria. I don't want to leave. So actually, I was in Ghana. We were in a program in Ghana ended yesterday, and one of our participants was making a speech. She was the Ghanaian, painting how rosy Ghana is. As you see me, a young lady, I don't want to leave. But when she finished, I handed the microphone and said that it's like she remembered, there might be some person here who might have you. She came back and took the microphone. I didn't mean say I don't want to leave. Oh. We said, no, we have heard it. No, that's not what I mean. I said, I don't want to leave now. I want to finish my school. So it's not that I don't want to leave. Oh. So what we are talking about is there anything you have to contribute to our conversation? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rebecca. My dear sister, friend, and other members of this conversation team. I greet you. I'm sorry I had to move from one meeting to another, and this will be the third one I'm attending this morning, this afternoon. I wouldn't know what people have discussed, but what I want to say is that I don't want to leave. And of course, if I should leave now, I'm leaving them. And I also want to tell us that this country is blessed. I don't think if everything is all right, all things being equal, that anybody will want to. This will be a destination. This country is supposed to be a destination for migration. There's a lot of pull factors here that would have pulled people. But I believe that it's not yet late. Things will get better. Things will get better. For those who are Japan, I heard you were talking about the Japan. We don't need to blame anybody on food. But getting there, as I was in another conversation just this morning, I told them that I wish this chopper is going to be a temporary thing that everybody will say, we give you a choice of 6 months, chopper to that side. And then you choose whether you're going to, for those of us who are gainfully employed, you will see that they will easily run back because those who are Japan, they know that for every dollar or pounds or euro you earn, you must work for it. So there's a lot of virgin opportunities here that if we can, the powers that be, I don't know, I am not part of them, not one of them. If they can do, let me agriculture, industries, what all we need to do to make this country a country of destination as far as migration is concerned is for the leaders to do the right thing. Once we do the right thing, I don't think these people will jumper because those who are jabbering in the next 10 years, they are going to be alien in this country. If things will get better in this country, if things get better, those who are going out there, they want to come back. And when they come back, we will give them a place to stay. So that is all I want to say. The leaders should get it right. And the things will get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The leaders should get it right. I hope the leaders will get it right. Someone said I've been 60 years and been listening and the leaders will get it right. But each day we are getting another variegated side of they should get it right. That is why we are where we were. Sorry, we are where we are, right? So it's been an interesting conversation. We thank our colleagues who joined us virtually, Dr. Hawa. We have Toyin and others who joined us online. And those who have participated and gone, we are most grateful. And I think I personally want to express my deepest part of my gratitude to the management and staff of this university. The demonstration of solidarity you've done to be here this morning is very rare and should not be taken for granted. Knowing that each of you have their departments and activities, but to be here to listen to this is also very encouraging. So we thank you. Our network is personally grateful and happy that we took this opportunity to collaborate with the center to do this. So before I do my very last thing, I will give you, Mom, I don't want to make a comment. Okay, thank you. Sorry, please, you have the.
Thank you very much. Please, want to appreciate everybody that be here. But I'm not here to give word of thanks. I just think that she was actually touching on what appeared on my mind to say, but then she left it because she's not part of them. Now, okay, the name is Diapo Wabuze. I'm the professor of English and also the Dean Faculty of Arts. The truth is this. When Baba said that if the home is not pursuing a child, the child will not be running away from home. And the truth is this, our value system is the problem. And that one cannot live for a government because the government that we have does not have value. We as people, there was a video that somebody was sharing. My husband was even showing it to me yesterday, and I saw it was posted on our fellowship platform in the university. A child brought us a something million naira vehicle, and the parents are crying. Where do you get this money? Something else. And that is people that still know what they are doing. I know a person that actually went to sell a colleague I had long ago. The time that Obasanjo improved life of lecturers and they are buying Tokumbo. That driver was supposed to help the guy to bring his car to Kenny, but he killed that guy or sold him to ritualists and then brought the car home. And the father went to call police. I said, I don't know where this boy goes. How much was the car there? 400,000. And that was it. That value that we have there. Because why our children have become ritualists is because we have become worshippers of money. Because we have become worshippers of money. And that is also why they think the only way, one, the environment is not conducive. Second, because now you must go and make it anyhow you can make it. Even some will sell their children to sexual slavery just for that. So, one, we don't have a government. Second, we ourselves, because if you start in your corner and do it right, I remember the way we train our children, they don't think of Japa. Now we encourage them to, but they don't want to, because their mindset have been fixed that Nigeria must be made to work. And that's the way they are. My children today, that's the only thing they think of. Nigeria must work. And that is just it, because that's the training they had. So now, the major thing also is this, and that one concerns the government, the security situation. You cannot see, I mean, you will not believe my answer, we don't have right now. Why? Because some people went there to tamper with a transformer in the estate. The whole estate is thrown into darkness. So it is not, and again, you cannot say the media is the one that decides. There's social media now. The social media is there, and people that want to say, they will say. The government itself is afraid of social media. The truth is this, that in our corner, let our value be the right one. And then, this, if we do it, because why is the government, you just throw religion at you, throw ethnicity at you, and Nigeria will laugh and start fighting. But now when the suffering comes, everybody is suffering. And we need to put it right as parents, let our value be right. And then we can get this government and hold it down and make it to do what is right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That seems to be one of the constructive contributions here in the way of moving ahead. What do we need to do? Last 2 years, a parent empowered her children, powered her children with 2 Samsung Android phones. They were the high school kids, SS2. Their colleagues, their neighbors' children were doing well. And she interacted with her fellow mother. And they told, now my children, they make a move. And a phone, they send a phone, they take the dual. So the mom came back, gathered her money, bought 2 phones for 2 of her children. I said, I don't empower one now. Mona go do what other people they do. Not be for our place to go end. So that's the empowerment from their parents, just to collaborate with what we are saying, the erosion of our values, which has made us money worshippers. And therefore, the responsibility is not just about those on the top, but for us. And come to think about it, it is us that is actually responsible, not the few who are up. Because whether we put them there or we didn't put them there, they are there because of us. And if we are not, they will not be. So when we rise up to who we are and the agency of who we are, then we can also turn things around. No, I'm just concluding the conversation. You still have I will hand over to the MCs. I'm only concluding the conversation at the debate. 2 weeks ago, about 30 of us were gathered in Accra at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center for West African Migration Management course. Our idea was professionals and experts from different fields of migration in Africa to put things on the table of those who work on migration. At the end of our 2 weeks, on Friday, we all rose up with only 2 things that came out. And things are running one goal. And the goal is running it that Africa must make migration a choice. And not it has to be a choice because people from other continents are also moving, but they move because they want to move. Those who are coming to Nigeria as Europeans come because they want to come. Nothing is dragging them. And for us to make it a choice and not a necessity, we said, and our own way of articulating that is a poem we came up with. And that poem is what I will use to conclude this conversation because it squares with what we are doing. And the title of our poem is Our Dream of a World Free from Irregular Migration. Would my home be home? Then my people may not have to leave, or rather, flee to destinations unknown in search of home away from home, where their dreams and hopes can be realized, where there can be persons instead all they meet is hostility, reminding them that they are not home. Would my home be home? Then my people would no longer embark on those perilous journeys, through those routes unknown as their destinations, dangerous and perilous routes whose graves we may never know. Would my home be home? Then my people would no longer prefer to die in a camp in no man's land, or prefer working under inhuman conditions for countless and sometimes unrewarding hours than return home. Dreams come true, and so would mine, when my home will be home, and all my people will be home and at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Unless the discussants really like where they are seated, at this point, they can choose to go back to the audience if they want to. I'm sure we'd all agree with me that it has been an interesting session today. In fact, I did not know that we would spend this much time here because every conversation back to back has really been interesting and educating. Of course, we're in the university environment, so what else do we expect? Thank you, everybody, for being here to this time. So to wrap up today's event, I'll be calling on the Principal Assistant Registrar of the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies, Blessed Alabi, to give us some logistic information and close.
Thank you very much. Just before I do that, one of our very almost virtual discussants just came up. I crave your indulgence just for 3 minutes. We would just like him to give his opinion about this, and we will be out. He's Professor Tijani, Professor Ibikunle Tijani. Sir, please, can we have you on mute? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Good morning from my neck of the wood. First and foremost, let me congratulate colleagues for this wonderful event. Unfortunately, I've been in and out of the emergency hospital for family reason, and that is why I couldn't join as scheduled. I decided to stay somewhere and I just say a word or two. I did not listen to all of the papers. That is the other confession. Again, it is not something that I had planned for. I have to rush call 911 to take my wife to the hospital. But having said that, I think migration is something that is so central to development, to politics, and it has become a global issue that the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies has tackled both intellectually and in a solution-driven atmosphere since its inception. I want to commend the university management, even the previous vice chancellor that God gave the vision, and those of us that also pioneered, including the present director and staff. It has brought NOUN to a level that we can no longer be seen as a second-class institution. That is important. When we reflect on migration, we can see that the debate will continue. A lot of folks do migrate, the Japa, the Japada, and the Jalo. What are the concepts of Japa? We all know that, but we have not seriously interrogated the concept of Japada. What we did, a little of that was historicized when I was the director, when Professor Emeritus Sogolo presented. I personally have the view to present about Japada and also Jalo. Jalo arises as an aftermath of Japa, meaning that there is no intention at all to return for varieties of reasons that we cannot contextualize because of our time. Jalo is also momentary, and in terms of the possibility of returning to the homeland. Whether we look at migration in the forced migration, forced meaning that enslavement, slavery, either through the Sahara or through the Indian Ocean or through the Atlantic that we all talked about, or the recent wave of migration by both skilled and unskilled labor, it is not to the benefit of the country that is that people use as a point of departure. It is to some extent to the benefit of the receiving country. But my message is that there are several legal means of doing this, that when we come to the case of Nigeria or the case of any African nation, we need to begin to educate ourselves and talk about it. Even in the context of legal labor migration, the government of the day will have to also do something to mitigate such a wave of migration. I was in Equatorial Guinea, and for a week, I was shocked that the same scenario, the same issue of wanting to Japa and Jalo was so apparent from all discussion with the teeming, youth in that country. A few days ago, I also listened to a documentary. I believe it was Mike Okiri, if I get his last name right. He's a popular journalist and writer that went to Kenya.
30 seconds more, sir.
20 seconds, okay. I was looking at the issue of the economic situation, comparing Kenya with Nigeria. And he discovered that, wait a minute, it is not a Nigerian thing. The economic situation is so dire that you are even better off as a Kenyan to Japa to Nigeria. So there is always that multidimensional nature of Japan. It will continue to contextualize, historicize. I pray that I will be uninterrupted in terms of being able to present what I discussed with the director, Professor Aneto, in terms of Japa, Jalo, and Japada, and the global contextualization of migration. I thank you so much for this opportunity. Again, my apologies. It was due to family emergency, and I have to crave the indulgence at this Franklin Medical Center in in Baltimore, Maryland, to quickly use a section in there for this to join. Thank you so much.
We thank
God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your sacrifice, and we have a quick recovery. Thank you very much for your submission as well.
Thank you very
Professor Tijani talked about the multidisciplinary nature of migration and the importance of us, looking at it from all facets. It's also important that you know that we have a monthly webinar every second Wednesday of the month, when we talk about issues in migration, where people share
their personal experiences from all walks of life, as well as researches that happen. Having said that, I want to say we are so grateful. We want to say thank you to God, first of all, for making this a success. We have been planning this for a very long time, and to thank the director for not giving up on the center or her results when this to pass. We also want to thank you, Dr. Emeka Okezo. I can't see him. Is he still around? Oh, he has gone. Wow. He has really been instrumental to making this work. He was really instrumental, the speakers, and even the collaboration. We also want to thank you for taking out your time to come here, our deans, our directors. We also want to give a special appreciation to the Vice Chancellor for his support in making this work. And every time he gives us his support to the center and helping us to grow. We thank you for willing to take all this time to stay through to the end of this program. Thank you to our MC, May. Thank you, Miss May. We are grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the people who have given their services, ICT, LCMS, media. We are so grateful. We felt your work, and we are glad that you guys came on board. Thank you to the staff of CEMGS for your relentless effort. Thank you to everybody that made this possible. We look forward to having more times like this. Please do not forget to watch our videos on YouTube, CMGS Now, IJMGS on Facebook. We produce journals twice in a year. So to our academic fathers and mothers, we would love you to bring in your papers with issues related to migration or global studies. We publish twice in a year, and it is free of charge. So you bring it and it goes through peer review from international and national scholars. We want to say thank you again. So before you go, we have lunch for everybody. All you need to do is present your tags at the inner room, and then you have your lunch. Once again, thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much.